ESL, or the Electronic Sports League, just announced a $500,000 circuit for women in CSGO. I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you've probably already heard about it and know what it is. But with this announcement came a lot of backlash saying that this is unfair that women get this safe space when they could just join the normal leagues that are already mixed, or how women aren't as good as their male counterparts, yet their tournaments are being treated even better than some of the majors we've had before. And it's not just CSGO that gets this backlash. We've seen it with Valorant's Game Changers and tournaments hosted by the Girl Gamer Festivals. While most people, including myself, are fine with these tournaments happening, some would want this to not happen since it might be unfair. But today's video explains why I think these tournaments exist, and it may hopefully shine some light on the situation. In order to understand why these tournaments are happening, we have to look back at the history of esports itself. No matter what game you're interested in, you can't deny that esports has been male dominant, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does create a lot of issues when it comes to women wanting to get into the scene. You could argue that this is because the games that are involved with esports aren't very appealing to women, as they prefer more casual fantasy games like Overwatch over competitive bloodbaths like CSGO, but I think there's more to it. But let's start with that. With the lack of women in games like Counter-Strike, there are no female role models. Role models in any activity in existence are important as they help us strive to be better at what we want in life and overcome the obstacles that come our way. We usually look up to people that we can relate to. For me, that was Stewie2K. Seeing him go through the backlash the community and his family gave him to watching him finally win a major inspired me to keep getting better at games like Counter-Strike. Now, there's nothing wrong with women looking up to someone like Stewie2K, but they're more likely to look up to a female player like Goosebreeder or Lacey. The problem back then was that all female tournaments hardly existed, and the ones that did exist hardly got any attention. And the tournaments that did get any attention were seen as jokes, calling all the players involved glorified silvers, claiming gold novas could take them. And as a side note, I highly doubt that. A lot of these players are FACEIT level 10s and have reached masters in the FACEIT ranking pool, which is something 99% of us will never see on our accounts. They may not be the next Olafmeister, but they're definitely way above average. On top of all of this, women are much more likely to face online harassment in online gaming, making it really difficult for them to even stick around for the long run. Most people don't realize how bad the situation is until they either experience it themselves, which hardly happens for guys, or see their friends go through it. I cannot tell you how many times my female friends have faced harassment in their games simply because they're women, and it still happens to them way too often to this day. I almost never get this kind of treatment, and when I do, it's usually because I'm performing poorly to the point where I'm throwing, and not necessarily because I'm a guy. There's a big difference there. You might suggest the mute button. Oh my god, that's such a simple answer. And it solves everything. Why am I still making this video? It's so easy. I just knew that. Why didn't I think of that before? While the mute button is not necessarily a bad option, the problem with Counter-Strike and most esports similar to it is that it requires communication. Anyone that's played a competitive video game like Counter-Strike can tell you that voice comms are basically a sixth sense everyone should take advantage of. But if you have to mute all of your teammates in every single match just to play the game without being demoralized by your own teammates due to your gender, you're more likely to lose or not perform at your best. And at that point, aspiring to becoming a pro might not be worth it for some of these players, especially in a scene where you're already seen as a joke just for existing. As far as in-game skill goes, unless some scientific evidence shows otherwise, both men and women have an equal chance. It's all the other issues I mentioned before are what's holding women back, and all those other issues combined make the process of women getting into the esports scene way more difficult than it has to be compared to the men getting into the scene. These female-only tournaments could fix most of these problems. Having an all-women's league not only lets them compete and grow in an environment less shitty compared to public matches, but it could also create role models for future female competitors, which is pretty much what we're hoping for as a result. If more women see that becoming pro is possible, they're more likely to stick around for the long run, and may eventually catch up to the male dominant scene. Esports is still in its infancy compared to most traditional sports, so whether or not this will work can only be determined with time, and I'm not talking about within the next year. It could take upwards of decades to see results, but events like these are the spark to that movement, and it's better to start now than to never start at all, wondering wondering if it would have worked. If you never cared about esports or its future, then this still might sound stupid. But as someone who loves esports and wants to see it grow for generations beyond me, I support these tournaments as I now get to watch more esports featuring players that never had a fair chance to prove themselves due to reasons beyond their control. Until people stop being scumbags for shits and giggles and more regulations involving voice comms are addressed, this is the best option. But that's just me, and I know everyone is not me. So what are your guys' thoughts on these tournaments? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll talk to you all later.